was practicing theatre for a longest time, and one of the key thing that impacted my acting style when I was doing theatre was this one exercise of a mercury ball, where you put it up on your fingertip and you have to and it's mainly for your focus, for your imagination, understanding and things like that, where you have to imagine a mercury ball on the fingertip and you have to bring it down to your palm slowly. However,
you were doing it in the hand or?
Yeah, on the fingertip. So you just have to imagine it and you have to slowly bring it down. So it's like your eyes, your senses, everything work towards creating something that doesn't exist.
Right.
So when we were doing that workshop, the teacher with whom I was learning this exercise, he never said that imagine it. He never used the word imagine. He always said that, so there is a mercury ball, and that has to be the thing that you work with. Like, don't imagine anything, there is. So that's something that we picked up. I picked it up strongly, and that's how I've for all these years have tried to act. And when I started working with the kids, that's the same thing that we used. That's how I started communicating with them. Because for them, imagination is something that is quite easy, to be honest. Belief is something that is not very
easy to them.
Because they are still questioning things, they are constructing things. And
they're in an unconditioned state.
Yes. So, as an adult, your beliefs are quite strong, and you start discarding almost all the information. But with kids, that's something that is very effective. Because they are continuously questioning.
I have a nephew,
Yeah.
Anchal's nephew actually. He is so smart that the 4th standard student is getting trained for class 7.
Right.
And he's asking such crazy questions about quantum mechanics and all of that stuff to his teachers, that his teachers are like, go another school. Yeah. He's being promoted to class 7 already. Yeah.
Right.
This is the kind of kids available. When you talk about kids, I want to start by saying this, that kids are the most repressed class of our society. They actually, in other countries, they actually taken on leashes like dogs, right?
Yeah.
The kids, like when you actually said the most 2 core important things. One is imagination and the unconditioned state.
Yeah.
So the kids are the most repressed people because they're the most conditioned.
Yeah.
The age from the time of birth to the time you get out of college is slavery. You're basically a pet of your parents.
Absolutely.
And your psychology is basically built on this whole process of being a pet of the mummy daddy triangle, where you are the holy son basically, and you have to sort of the whole triangle basically conditions you to the extent that you lose your imagination. So
but and still, people who end up doing breaking away from it are they throughout their childhood are able to fight this.
Exactly.
So that's
exactly.
that's something that if we tap into, or if we start looking into how we can have, the thing is, it's perspectives, right? If there are not enough perspectives, then there won't be any creation out of it. So, and narrowing that perspectives with education, or with centered education, it's a system, whatever I've learned in school is not what I teach.
It's a mind control system.
Yeah. They move on too fast too. It doesn't, though, even if you condition them, if there is a kid who has been conditioned for a longest time to think in a certain way, if they are introduced to new ideas, new concepts, it doesn't take them time to unlearn what they have done.
Correct.
So that's something, and that's where we are rigid.
That's because this is the first example, first allegory again, that their mind is more mercurial, fluid, and it is flexible to change and learning.
Right.
And that's because the brain patterns, the engravings of the brain and the neurochemistry has not formed yet, and habits have not formed, and they're in an unconditioned state,
right,
wherein you can learn and unlearn very easily, essentially. But the key thing to the learning, so having said that, what the child does from this age till the time he becomes a child and a new man, what he's going through is a process called education.
Right.
And that education essentially is what? That education is to basically put him into the straight metal jacket.
Right.
While there's education going on one side, and on the other side, when you get back home, you are given moral policing.
Yeah.
And then you are taught religion.
Right.
And all of these are basically layers and layers of conditioning.
Okay.
And then you said that, okay, there's a definition of good. The child does not know the definition between good or bad, or you need to have a moral conscience in order to take that stance. The child doesn't have that. The child's mind is what is called the tabula rasa,
Yeah.
which is essentially a clean white slate.
Yeah.
And this conditioning essentially starts drawing forms in it, and which basically becomes like almost neural pathways, so to speak, and leads to the creation of a personality.
Right.
So from a child as such is full of potential,
Yeah.
but this potentiality is completely sapped out by the system by complete conditioning.
Yeah.
And what is essentially lost in this whole process of education and creating them into policeable individuals and citizens
Exactly.
is the loss of imagination. Loss of imagination. Look at the word imagination. Imagination comes from the word mega. The word magic, magic comes from imago, which is imagination. Which basically so the education and polity and creating these individuals or citizens to be harvested by the state is actually a process of stealing your own imagination. And when imagination is lost, that which was the core capability of the child is lost, and you no more a child, but you are a citizen of the state.
Yeah.
So you have created from a mercurial moldable clay, you have created a stuck-up psycho.
Yeah.
And that's what you get at the end of the day. That's basically it. As the child, it's a process of growing, right?
Yeah.
And as the child is growing, the psyche is being born and it is being formed, and from the psyche itself, this personality is being created.
Yeah.
Now, if you do so much conditioning in the initial stages, like if a bonsai or if you want to grow bamboo straight or into a spiral, all you need to do is guides to it, and it will just flow through that pattern.
Right.
So society is giving you this mold of this gig onto which any of your forces can be utilized. Basically, it has been molded into a certain form which they require, the system requires. So what essentially happens in the whole process of growing up is the loss of inner space and the loss of imagination, so to speak. And when imagination is lost, then the power is lost from inside. And then we believe in textbooks, we believe in the Bibles, we believe in the word of the father, we believe in the mother, and so on. So you externalize all the powers outside, and at the end you become completely vacuum. You are educated, fair enough, you can read the English language, but can you understand? That's the thing, right?
That's the thing.
Can you understand? Because what happens is all of these experiences get so externalized that the inner direct learning of the child gets completely destroyed. The inner direct experience. You don't value direct experience, and if you don't value direct experiences, then you don't grow as an individual from inside. While growing up, to me the crux of the problem is this, that children are not taken as individuals. They are actually individuals. They have a consciousness which is probably more empowered and powerful than ours. Ours is so conditioned that it has nothing left in it. They are actually fresh of so much energy, and if we were to, like, there's a saying in the Bible itself that, you know, the face of the father would turn to the children for the answer, of course. Because the father is fact, like we are all fathers of fact. We don't have the solution. The children has the solution. So there is, if you look at just generation of people who have been coming down to the planet, which of course children, you have new range of people coming into the planet, new kind of consciousnesses. So you have indigo children, you have crystal children, you have rainbow children. So these are all 5th ray, 6th ray, 7th ray children. So till 1960s you had only 4th ray children. They probably had like few of them, and then when it becomes 6th ray you get indigos. Indigos are people who have ADD, a lot of dyslexia and all of this crazy stuff basically. And that's because their consciousness is not tuned to interact with this kind of a traffic light, obey the fucking rule, turn left, turn right, do for a fucking march, take a salute, you know, go vote for BJP, all that shit. Can't navigate the system. They're tuned into another frequency, which is another deal altogether, right? And they become incapable of dealing with the shit. And then what do? You give them Prozac. You call them bipolar.
Yeah.
You call them schizoids,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
they are coming with the new wave of consciousness, and they have the fucking answers.
So there was this one moment that happened with one kid recently. I was training him for a film called Half Ticket, and they were supposed to play Rat Pickers. And it was a remake of Kaka Muttai, the South Indian film. So they were supposed, and so these kids, they themselves have grown up in better slums. So it's like a better version of slum, the chawl system that has come in, who eventually within 5 years will go into an SRA. So it's like people who think that they have a better life. So that's where they belong. However, what we did was like they didn't have that they were not living on streets. So we somehow thought like, how can we ignite this experience for them? Like how can we make them understand still there is a difference, still there is a huge class difference. You have a shelter, you are getting food, you have a bed. What is that this kid is thinking about? So we just one day went on for a walk, bare feet, all of us, and walked through under the bridge kind of a thing, and we went there, we sat there, we had food, and we just were there. The moment we came back from there, the younger one, his eyes were they were like almost amazed by what he has seen. He has passed it every day, he has seen it every day, he knows about it, he's playing that character. But the moment he experienced it, his eyes, from that day on, it was like I didn't have to do anything. That one experience, like all that training of like you should say like this, you should be doing this, this is how you breathe, this is how you feel, this is how you understand, what is the backstory and all that, all was washed off in a second. That one experience of eating there under the bridge is something that took him like somewhere else, and then never ever we had to touch his instinct in the scene. It was all like within him. It was an experience that he was just like recreating, revisiting each time he was performing. That's it. So that was like a really overwhelming experience.